Welcome to Her Handmade Hustle Unplugged, a podcast for all women with a creative business who want to learn more about how to make money doing something they love. I'm Joanne Pearce, a female entrepreneur myself, 15 years experience running my own handmade stationery business, Vintage Twee. I'm an established seller on two of the biggest handmade marketplaces, so I've got a whole load of advice to share about how to start and run your own successful creative business. I'm also a wife and a mother, so I get the struggles of trying to do it all while you're raising a family. It's hard. Alongside running Vintage Twee, I'm also a mentor for other women like me who desperately want to work for themselves but just need that bit of support to get going and get their business dream off the ground. I'm a friendly northerner, I'm open and honest with a huge heart and a real fighting spirit, and I'm living proof that you can achieve anything that you set your mind to, even in the face of adversity. This podcast celebrates the selflessness, strength, and resilience of women in business. So if you're ready to ditch the 9-to-5 and learn how to start your own successful creative business, you're in the right place. Hello and welcome to the Her Handmade Hustle Unplugged podcast. Thank you for pressing play and giving me a go if you're new here. And if you're not and you've listened to me before, then you know the drill and all the kind of stuff that we talk about on here. It's real. There's no fancy words or business jargon. There's no promises I'm going to turn you into a multimillionaire overnight. I wish. You know, we're all about breaking things down in a way that you can understand. Because running a business, whether it's creative or otherwise, it's confusing and it's scary, isn't it? And sometimes you just need someone to explain things clearly to you because it can just be so overwhelming, especially if you're new to being self-employed. Or even if you've been doing this for as long as me and you're just feeling a bit lost in the millions of other small businesses out there and you're wondering if there's even space for you and your ideas in an already oversaturated marketplace. Well, there is. So stop trying to talk yourself out of it. I know what you're up to, you're self-sabotaging. Stop it. And if you really want to make a go of your creative business, then you've got to stop making excuses, number one. And number two, you need to stamp out those thoughts that are making you think that it won't ever happen to you, that you're not capable, or that you've not got what it takes to stand out and be bold and to successfully sell your work like everyone else seems to be doing because you're not bold. And actually, you feel really uncomfortable standing out. So you start to question whether you're cut out for this because, you know, you hate being in front of the camera and you're not the loudest person in the room. And quite frankly, you hate selling. Well, I've just described myself right there. I am not bold. And put me in a room of like 20 people and I'm the quietest one in there. I promise you. In fact, I avoid any kind of social event that is outside of my immediate friendship group. And that's like 4 women tops. I don't like being on camera. I prefer to post a photo rather than a reel. And I hate selling. Yep, I really do. Always have, always will. I just wish that I could make things for a living and help other women do the same whilst living on this infinite pot of gold that just refills itself every time it's running low. You know what I mean? But that's not reality, is it? If we want to run a business from what we are creating, then we have to put our big girl pants on and we have to learn how to sell our stuff. So today, we are talking about branding. Now, it is a word that gets banded around a lot, isn't it, when you're in this game of running your own show? There's pressure to create a perfect brand that looks like it's just jumped straight off the pages of a glossy magazine. You know, it's instantly recognisable, it's polished, it's professional, like you've got a team of 30 behind you or something, you know, all working away in a beautifully styled workshop with matching hoodies and a load of other merch that cost you your life savings to get designed. It's a lot, isn't it? This whole concept of having to create a brand that sets you apart from everyone else. But what if I told you that branding is actually pretty simple? And you don't need a huge amount of creativity or money to pull off a brilliant brand of your own. And even better, you don't need to be bold and gobby to stand out, right? You just need to look at it differently. You can actually build a quiet brand and be just as successful as the ones who are always posting on social media and keeping up with the trends and fannying around in front of the camera. Because here's the truth. Your brand is not your logo. It's not your colours or your fonts or your number of followers. Your brand is simply the feeling that people get when they come across your work. That's all it is. It's how you make them feel. It's the energy behind what you create. And the good news, well, you've already got that in you. So in this episode, we're going to talk about what it means to build a brand that feels like you. And this is especially true if you are someone who doesn't want to perform or shout to be heard. We're talking today about what a quiet brand actually is and why it's so powerful and why you don't need to be loud, just clear. And I'm going to give you some really simple, practical ways to start building a brand that feels calm and confident and completely true to who you are. Sound good to you? I thought so. So let's get going and sort you out, because by the end of this episode, I want you to go away feeling like this isn't a stumbling block for you anymore. It's changed your perception on what a brand is. And that is actually, it's pretty easy to show people who you are, even if you're not the loudest person in the room. So first of all, everybody thinks that what constitutes a good brand is how it looks. The logo, the colours, the font, etc. All these things. And yes, visuals are very important. Like anything in life, though. We tend to make a judgment on something, don't we, from our first impressions? How it looks to the eye. Is it attractive? Are we drawn in by it? It's just exactly how we choose our mate for life, isn't it, at the end of the day? But does it reflect what the business is and what it does? So yes, this does need to be on point. But what's just as important, and perhaps even more so, is how you make someone feel when they come across your business. So let's put it this way. If you can think of it like the brand being a person, let's call her Sheila. Don't know why. It's always my husband's go-to name when we're talking about customers. Anyway, Sheila. Sheila is your brand. She's pretty. She wears nice makeup and lovely clothes. She doesn't buy them from Tesco like me. She does her hair in fancy styles because she's got the time in the morning to rock something other than a mum bun, yeah? She's easy on the eye, and that's lovely. But what's underneath the fancy clothes and the makeup? Because if there's not much, if there's no personality or substance, then Sheila's empty. And she's just a pretty face. And visuals are great for an immediate impression, but if there's nothing else behind them, then you're quickly going to lose interest. Like, I'm bored of Sheila now. Now, imagine that Sheila is warm and she's funny and she's kind. She's had a fair share of shit flung away. She's still smiling. But she's talented. She makes, handmade fudge or something, yeah? She's a storyteller. She collects old cookbooks with stained pages in them from people's attempts at baking whatever it was that was on that page. She loves reinventing her late grandma's recipes, and she's created her own brand of fudge from them. Sheila goes to vintage markets. She buys all the baking equipment from there because she thinks that each one carries its own story and its own little piece of history, which contributes to the charm of her brand. Now Sheila has some substance. She's interesting. Yeah, I want to know more. I actually really want to nick Sheila's idea now and start a business making handmade fudge. And I'm hungry. But Sheila has made me feel a certain way about her business. And this is mainly what a successful brand is all about. It's the soul behind the business, what's inside or behind the visuals. Because without the soul, you haven't got brand. And you probably won't have a business either. I always think of this chair that I bought once when I started Vintage Tweet, right? It was beautiful. I had my heart set on it. And it was pink. It had this gorgeous pattern on it, made from a lovely material. It had these beautiful button details. And it just went perfectly in my new studio space that I'd created when I started the business. And I lived on my own in this little 2-bedroom flat above a coffee shop. The chair was great until I sat on it and I tried to work a 14-hour day on it. It wouldn't roll on the carpet that I had down in that room. I used to have to drag myself across the floor on it every time I wanted to reach something, but not get up. It was the right workout. It was uncomfy as hell. It didn't adjust. So I had backache every day from being stooped over from the desk. I ended up calling it the bimbo chair. It looked good, but that was about it. Like, you don't want a bimbo brand, right? You want something that looks good, but sets out to do what it needs to. Keep it simple. Your brand is just the feeling that people get when they come across your work. And it's how people remember you. It's the little things, the way you speak, your values, your energy, your creations. And you already have the beginnings of a brand, but you just need to be clear in how you communicate it. And it's remembering that your brand is not just a logo or a colour palette, it's how people will describe you when you're not in the room. So let's now talk about how you do this if you're not a person who is loud or salesy or performative. Because we've all felt that pressure to be louder, haven't we? To post more, to show more of yourself, be more visible. Bloody hate that word. To keep up with the people who just seem to be everywhere. They're always selling, they're always creating content, they're always showing up with confidence and their polished reels. But here's what you need to know. Yeah, you don't need to be loud to be seen. And honestly, I want to tell you now how to convey your brand the quiet way, because I know that a lot of us are put off by the marketing of our business. We can create till the cows come home. We're tucked away in our little home office or studio with a brew and a podcast on, hopefully me, as we're stitching or we're sewing or we're gluing. That's not a problem. But when it comes to letting people know about what we're offering, we can be pretty clueless. We probably even avoid it at times. But we don't need to be afraid of this side of running a business. You just need to be you. Okay, you can build a beautiful brand without the bells and whistles and all the expensive marketing. Who can afford that anyway when they're starting out? So many creative women think that they are bad at marketing because they're not naturally outgoing or salesy. But you know what? Most of the time, it's not about that. It's about being clear and connecting with your audience. And that's what makes a brand memorable. So here's my advice for building your brand quietly in a way that you feel comfortable. So first of all, please, you don't need to dance on reels and you don't need to post every day to be remembered. There is actually some real power in just being quiet, in being thoughtful, and more importantly, in being clear. Quiet can be pretty magnetic. And I'll give you some examples, right? People that you might not even think of as brands at first. So maybe it's that one woman who shares heartfelt posts maybe once or twice a week, and you always stop to read them because they make you smile or laugh or cry. Maybe it's that handmade business that doesn't post flashy content, but whose words and products just feel like a breath of fresh air, and you just enjoy seeing them pop up on your feed. And they're not showing up all the time, but when they do, it really lands with you and it really connects. And that's because they're not trying to be everything all the time. They're just being themselves. Clear and consistent. People would actually much rather hear from you just twice a week if you've got something interesting to say or show. Just make sure that what you're posting is full of meaning and heart, and it really represents who you are and what you do. My second piece of advice for building a brand quietly is it has to sound like you. All right, your brand is your voice. It's your tone, the language you use. So speak as you would to the person who knows you best. Right? Think about who that person is right now. You don't worry about grammar or words that you'd never say normally. It's really funny because when I ask people why they want to start a business, they often say to me, well, I have a passion for creating handcrafted items that just bring joy to people's lives. I'm sure you do. But would you describe it this way to your best friend? To your partner? To your grandma even? Do you even use the words passion or handcrafted or joy in your general vocabulary? You might. I don't. Instead, if someone asked me that question, I'd probably say something like, I just love creating things with my hands and seeing people's faces light up whenever they receive them. I don't know, something like that. It doesn't sound as polished or as professional as the latter one, but it does sound honest. It sounds like me. And that is the essence of my brand. Do you see? So it's all about how you speak, the words you choose, and the feeling that they give someone when they read them. And that's not hard at all. It's you. So this should come so natural to you. And if it doesn't, then you're not being 100% authentic with your brand. Thirdly, I want you to think about what's the one thing that you want people to feel when they see your work? Like, do you want them to feel nostalgic, happy, moved, connected? Like, if you had all your work on display in a room, let's say you had to do a 5-minute speech on what it was all about and why you do it, and then you had to walk out of the room and leave, what's that feeling that you have left them with? What are people saying about it? What are they talking about? So for me and my mentoring, I hope people leave a video call or a meeting with me feeling inspired and motivated, with increased confidence and self-belief. Like, that's what underpins my work with Her Handmade Hustle. Now, with my wedding and event stationery, it was always to make them feel special and unique, because no one else would have what they have. It was all handmade. It was all crafted individually from vintage materials, I wanted them to have these feelings of nostalgia, maybe special words or memories or photos that I used to create their wedding favours. So think about what you want people to feel when they have read your post or your message or have interacted with you, because that is the heart of your brand. So let's talk about what you can actually do to begin shaping your brand, especially if you're someone who doesn't want to be loud, or you're not really sure what your brand even is yet, because that's it sometimes, isn't it? You're thinking, well, I'm only making things at weekends or in between my full-time job, so I don't really think I need a brand. Well, if you're wanting to make money from your creations and you're posting on social media, or you're attending craft fairs or markets with the intention of selling them, then yes, you need a brand. And remember, a brand, it isn't expensive merchandise or fancy logos. It's just a personality. It's something that we all need to give to our businesses, because without it, we're going to fall at the first hurdle. Yeah? No one is going to connect with us. So this is where I want you to strip everything back, right? Forget about Canva for a moment, right? Step away from it. Forget trying to plan the perfect Instagram grid. Forget your logos and your colour palettes and the pressure to have everything looking a certain way. Because before we worry about how your brand looks, we need to get clearer on how it feels. And that starts with you. So I'm going to tell you 3 really simple things that you can try today to help you do this. Things that can make a huge difference in helping your brand feel more like you. So grab a notepad and pen if you've got one nearby, and write these things down, because you're going to want to come back to them. Okay, number 1. The first thing I want you to do, I want you to choose 3 words that describe how you want your brand to feel. And this is a really good place to start, because it's not about what you do, it's about how you want people to experience it. So ask yourself this question. When someone comes across my work, what do I want them to feel? I'll do it with you. Okay, so let's say people find Her Handmade Hustle on Google. Yeah, they read what I can do to help them with their small business, and they instantly feel a certain way. My 3 words of how I want them to feel would be confident, honest, and inspiring. Now, confident in that they are capable of doing this. Honest in that they can trust me to take care of them and their fragile thoughts and ideas. This is their business baby. I've got to be careful with it. Inspiring in that they've seen what I've done with my handmade business and for other people, and it's lit a fire inside their belly. And depending on what you do, your 3 words might be totally different. They might be things like playful, creative, and warm. They might be bold, edgy, heartfelt. I don't know. Write them down. And if you can't think of them now, that's fine. They will come to you. And these words will become the compass for everything. Your tone of voice, your visuals, the way you write captions or emails, even the way that you reply to your messages or conversations. Because without those 3 words, how do you know what direction you're going in for any of that stuff? This is what you need to do first. And when you have them, I would write them on a post-it note and I'd put them on your desk. It'll act as a daily reminder of the kind of energy that you want to bring to your brand. Number 2, okay? I want you to go right back to the beginning. Now, this might not be that far if you're just starting out, but I want you to think about why you started this work in the first place. What is it that happened that made you want to do this? So, have you always loved creating? Did you maybe have a making box like I did when you were 5 years old and you just spent all your time crafting things out of cereal boxes and empty toilet rolls? My mum, she used to cut up the cereal boxes after we'd finished with them so we could use the card for like crafts and drawing. And she still did this for me up until a few months before she died. No word of a lie. Not so much for creating people's wedding stationery out of, that would be totally unique, can you imagine? Tony the Tiger on the reverse of their luxury wedding invitations. She'd just cut them up for me to use as glue mats or for me to rest my glue gun on. I still have a stack of them now in my drawer, which I can't bear to get rid of, because I know that those wonky lines were cut by her for me. And maybe you didn't think you were creative at all until lockdown hit and you started knitting for something to do. We all had to do something, didn't we? But maybe your child was born and you couldn't do your other job anymore. Maybe someone died and you wanted to take that pain and turn it into something productive. And your story doesn't have to be dramatic. We're not going for an Oscar here. It just has to be honest. People don't connect with perfect anyway. They connect with real. So write down the exact reasons why you started doing what you do and what made you care about it so much. Was there a particular moment that shifted things for you? Did you have a certain conversation or an experience, or maybe it was just a gut feeling? I don't know. That story, even if it's quiet, even if it's still unfolding, it's part of your brand. And when you share even just a little bit of it, whether it's on your website or in a post or in a conversation, it gives people a way in. It helps them understand you and it helps them feel something. And you don't need to worry about airing all your dirty laundry. Well, you can if you want. Always makes for a good read, doesn't it? Let's face it. But just give people something. Something that says, here's who I am and here's why I care. Now, number 3, okay? We've already kind of touched on this one. But this one is about using your voice. It's about writing and speaking the way that you really talk. Honestly, so many women that I work with feel unsure about how they sound online. Yeah, we don't like the sound of our own voices, do we? Or we don't like to talk about ourselves. It can take bloody forever to write a social media post because you're second guessing every word, mainly because you're trying to sound too professional or too on brand. But you don't need to overthink it. People are less likely to read a perfectly crafted, professional sounding post, trust me. They skip right past them, don't they? I know I do. No, we want the good stuff, the real you. We want the happy version, the sad version, the pissed off version, the sweary Mary version. Your real voice is what people want. So if you're warm and friendly in real life, be warm and friendly in your writing. If you're a bit sarcastic or straight talking, then let that come through. Your tone, your phrasing, your rhythm, that is all part of your brand. Yeah, it's what helps people feel like they know you, even if they've never met you, which is the challenge you're faced with when you run a business. And the best bit about doing it this way is that it is so much easier to post and show up when you're not pretending to be someone else. Like, just let it come naturally. And if you struggle with getting thoughts out of your head and like written onto paper or, onto the screen, wherever, then say them out loud. Record a voice note on your phone or something with what you want to post. And you'll find that your words will come through much easier this way. And you'll sound less like you're trying so hard and more like the wonderful human being that you are. And I think it's worth remembering that you don't need to be on every platform posting every day. That is going to make you miserable. The pressure is just too damn much, isn't it? So I'm mainly on Instagram and Substack. That's where you'll find the real me hanging out. Yeah, and all you actually need is be clear about who you are, what you care about, and how you want people to feel. Because when you're clear, people feel safe, don't they? They feel like they can trust you. I'll give you a funny example because I've been meaning to share this story for a while, but I've never had the right episode sort of that it fits in with. So I'm going to do it now because it's perfect. And it's all about being clear. So I attended a makers market probably a couple of months back now, where we had this impromptu day out, right? And I didn't know this market was on, but I was so glad because when we got there, I spied this man with a stall who I bought a soap from. God, it must have been a couple of years ago now. And I've been trying to find him since. right? Because it was so good. I've been searching for this man for 2 years. Anyway, as you can imagine, I was absolutely ecstatic to find him there with these lovely traditional soaps that are made in France from donkey's milk. Oh, they're just so lovely, and they're gentle, and they're actually one of the very few things that I can use on my daughter's skin without it flaring her eczema up. Although I do have to tell her that it's called donkey's milk soap because the donkey in question loves to drink milk, so he named it after the animal's love for dairy. Otherwise, she won't go near it. Anyway, I pounced on this poor Frenchman, right? And I told him that I absolutely loved his soaps and I needed to stock up while I was there because I just didn't know where to find him. Couldn't find him anywhere. So he reaches into his pocket and he hands me a business card so I could contact him whenever I needed any more soap. Perfect. And I looked at it and it did make me laugh. I mean, I held it in until I walked away. But do you know what his business was called? After 2 years of searching for this man and typing every combination of donkey's milk soap from France into Google in the mere hope that he's going to pop up, he was called Mr. French Soap. That's it. Clear as day. Does exactly what it says on the tin, doesn't it? He's a man from France who sells soaps. Mr. French Soap. Bloody genius, isn't it? You couldn't get any clearer if you tried. Anyway, he is so clear about his brand. This is who he is and what he does. And you have to admire him for that. So don't overthink yours. You don't need to come up with a complicated name or logo. Because you know what will happen if you do? You won't do it. You'll have taught yourself out of it by then. So focus more on the feeling behind the brand first before you worry about the name and the visuals. So let's pause for a moment and just talk about something really important. Because maybe you've listened to everything I've said so far and you're still feeling a bit unsure or lost or confused, right? Because it's okay me talking about these things, but you're the one who's got to go away and do the thinking and figure it all out, correct? So maybe you're thinking things like, well, that's great, but I still don't really know what my brand is. Or maybe you're saying, I don't feel clear on what I'm about, or I'm not confident putting myself out there. Or one I hear a lot is everything that I do just feels a bit all over the place. Well, if that's you, I want you to know this, right? You are not behind. You are not doing it wrong. And you are absolutely not alone because there's no deadline to figuring out your brand. There's no magic day when it all suddenly just clicks and you feel totally polished and certain and ready. Most of us, myself included, we're still figuring it out as we go along. And that's because your brand isn't born overnight. It's something that is growing with you day by day, week by week, year by year. And it's not something that you have to carve into stone because it's going to change and it's going to evolve. And it'll soften and it will sharpen over time. And this can only happen when you're doing, when you're listening, when you're learning what feels right and what doesn't. So if you're feeling a bit lost right now, that's okay, right? Just begin. Just start today. Make some notes on the things that I've talked about. The answers will be easy because they are inside of you. So start by showing up as you are with what you know in a way that feels safe and true to you. So stop wasting your time on ChatGPT trying to come up with the perfect Instagram bio or schedule all your social media posts. Right? Stop faffing around with colours and fonts until you've got the perfect Instagram feed. And stop waiting until you are 100% ready. Because you never will be, trust me. All you actually need to do is take the first step, however small it is, in a way that feels good for you. So what could that be? What can you do today when you finish listening to this to help you build your brand quietly? Well, maybe you could write a little about me post and share it quietly. Maybe you could message one person, perhaps a previous customer or a cheerleader for your business, and tell them what you're working on. Message me. I'd love to hear. Or maybe it's just sitting down with a notebook and asking yourself, what do I actually want to be known for? What do I want to be associated with? You don't need to be any more than you already are to be taken seriously. Like I used to say when it came to old boyfriends, if I wasn't enough for them, then they weren't the one for me. And it's the same with your customers, sort of. You will only connect with a tiny proportion of the population of this world, the people who get you and want to support you. And that's okay, because there's more than enough people to go around every small, meaningful business on this planet. So focus on doing things at your pace in a way that you feel comfortable with, and your brand will be built quietly and perfectly in the background, I promise. And if you're still feeling a little unsure and you'd love some help figuring out your brand, not the shiny version, but the real you version, then I will, of course, help you. I've actually got a one-to-one session on my website. It's called Building Your Brand, where we explore it together. And I give you some practical help on how to do this. We'll bring your story to life. We'll look at your identity, your personality, your values, and we will write some social media posts together. We'll do some real usable stuff that will help you get clear on this. It might be that you need a new about page for your website. This kind of stuff comes from having your branding sorted first. So you'll find the Building Your Brand session under the pick and mix section of my website. So you can either go and check it out there, herhandmadehustle.co.uk, or just send me a message if you want the details or the link, or you want to chat about whether or not it's right for you. Don't forget, I do a free 30-minute video call for everyone, so take advantage of me before the school holidays hit and then my brain tends to mush. So that's all for today. Thank you for listening, and thank you to my new followers on Substack too. I've had a flurry of new followers, which is great. So you'll be getting my podcast episodes straight to your inbox every week, so you can listen as soon as they are released. I do also have a bonus podcast episode on this Friday. That's for my paid Substack subscribers, which delves even further into this topic, and it will hopefully help you on your journey to creating your quiet brand. So please do share this episode with someone else who springs to mind, who might enjoy it too. And I'll see you next week on the Her Handmade Hustle Unplugged podcast.